We've got three excellent panelists this afternoon talking about how we raise awareness of the challenge of sustainability, both in the industry, where there's still clearly a lot to be done, but also with the consumers. And there's been a lot of talk recently about the millennials. It came up in the last session, that those consumers who are not far off becoming the major consumers of travel and tourism are much more insistent about the sustainability agenda than certainly my generation has been. So it is a time of change. We've got three speakers, they're each going to talk for about 10 minutes. So there will be time for Q&A after the presentations. But if I may, I'd like to ask Xavier Helby from the Radisson Hotel Group to speak first about what they're doing on sustainability and why it matters.
Thank you, Harold. Good afternoon, everyone. By show of hand, how many of you change your linen once a day? How about twice a week? Purely for academic purpose. Once a week? So why is it that we ask our clients, or that our clients are expecting us to change their linen every single day? Well, that is a very good question, isn't it? And I think it's just our own mistake and our own demise. And that is simply because it is difficult to give back a gift that has been given already. There's a saying in French that says, what has been given has been given. What you take back is stolen. The earliest hotels did not even use to change the linen between customers. But for the sake of competition, we have been asking for more and more added value to the clients. And the clients have been accepting that and have been used to that. And now it is very difficult for us to push back and to change that. The problem, obviously, is change. What Radisson Hotel Group focuses on their sustainability programs are around three different pillars. Think people, think community, and think planet. The Think Planet target is for the next 5 years between 2017 and 2022 to reduce the carbon footprint by 10%. That is in addition to the 25% reduction that already happened until 2016. It is indeed a very challenging target. However, we're definitely up to the task, and as motto says, yes, I can. We are targeting, obviously, CO2, water, and waste reductions. In Think Planet, which is the topic of today, these are some of the activities that we do globally for more than 1,200 hotels in the world. Grey water treatment in resorts, that is obviously high consumption levels. We have water efficiency showers now that is a global standard worldwide to have only 9.5 liters per minute. I'm very proud to say that in the hotel that I'm sitting in currently in Deira Creek, the first 5-star hotel in Dubai, we changed today some taps in the public areas as well as some rooms for trial. Instead of having the normal flow of water in the taps, now we have the air water that dispenses only a mist of water which still wets your hand and gives you the exact same feeling. We're expecting great savings from that. Reduction in the toilet flush capacities as well. That is now a global standard in our company. Renewable solar energy as well is very much an emphasis for our company. It has been difficult in this area. We've been talking about solar panels for a very long time in this part of the world, and it has been very difficult actually to implement simply because of cost impact. We're getting there. All our hotels are LED light now, finally, as well as we are the first hotel chain with partnership with Edge Company that is for building sustainability monitoring as well as BMI systems. The results so far, so we are the first hotel group with carbon neutral meetings that we started back in 2013, and in Frankfurt in the next few weeks. We will announce this officially. And so far, we have saved about 48,000 tons of carbon emissions. We have 34 hotels on 100% renewable energy. We have carbon offsetting already of 48,000 tons of CO2, as I said before, and the energy savings per square meter is 2.1%, which in terms of financials is quite consequent on a large company like ours. We have as well, I'm skipping through, 46 hotels in the Middle East alone region that has eco-labeled hotels, and we have 100% of the hotels in UAE also with that label. The organizational and governance of our company is going in both directions from top to bottom. That is an initiative led directly by our CEO, and as well as from bottom-up approach where our employees are engaged directly, so that we engage both employees and our guests, obviously. One of the initiatives that we have to engage our clients is Refuse the Straw campaign, which you might have heard of. And that happened, that started just about a year ago. And so far, our savings in terms of plastic straws amounts almost to 7 million straws in just a year time. And that's just on the first year. With the hashtag Refuse the Straw, please feel free to join as well. We are partners with Tesla. We started in the Middle East, where most of our hotels have free for clients refill with our Tesla cars. They don't even have to go and consume in the restaurants. As long as they want to stop by, they stop and they get it for free refill. Carbon neutral meetings that I was mentioning is also something that is highly challenging for the purpose of changing the concepts and what the clients are used to. And our target is to have absolutely plastic-free or single-use plastic-free meetings. You can read for yourself, but basically there's no extra cost for the clients. We are taking out all the plastic bottles that you have in the meeting rooms. It has obviously a cost impact, so we're trying to find different ways and different avenues to go for that. The glass bottles are obviously extremely expensive for hotels in terms of how much we are consuming in meeting and events departments. However, there are facilities, and one of our globally signed contract with Brita is helping us exactly for that purpose. These are some of the partners that we have signed up with. We have a lot of partners, and as you can imagine, this is basically saying that we are not the specialists, right? So we are taking third-party companies who are specialists in their field in sustainability to give us a different approach, a different point of view on what capabilities we can have and we can bring without impairing the service of the clients at all. We engage our employees as well. We have onboarding training. Every single employee coming on board to our company goes through the same training about raising their awareness on sustainability and what they can do at their level, as well as how they can impact and talk with the customers about sustainability in our company. The training is for absolutely everyone, from general manager to frontline employees. There's classroom training absolutely developed worldwide for all employees of our company. We engage our employees as well to participate in Soap for Hope. Basically, it is about recycling the soaps that we have in the bedrooms. You know, the soap bars that are extremely expensive. We recycle them into making new soap bars, and that we give for charity as well. We engage them as well, being part of the Earth Hour, and today the Earth Day, which is very appropriate for this conference. And we have also a responsible business committee in all our hotels worldwide. We also have a mascot called Lumi. The credo of Radisson Hotel Groups for Think People Community and Think Planet revolve around these three So we know that everything that we do matters, and we help build more sustainable future. We believe every moment is an opportunity for each of us to make a difference, at home and in our hotel, as well as together our action, large or small, and create a wave of positive impact on people, community, and our planet. This is about the first question that I was asking you about changing the linen. Yes, it is responsible business, but Radisson Hotel Group believes that it is also about responsible people. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed, Xavier. There'll be time for questions at the end. Peter, can I ask you now to come up and talk about the Jumeirah Group and what you've been doing? One of the things about Jumeirah is they built one of the first hotels in Dubai, and they've just built a new one. And I'm sure Peter will talk a little about the difference between those two hotels.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As Harold said, my name is Pete Stubbs. I work as the Group Director of Health, Safety and Environment for Jumeirah Group. Delighted to be here today, and Harold, thank you once again for facilitating the sessions. I just want to touch on a few things in relation to sustainability, and particularly looking at the role that tourism has to drive the change agenda within our region. I often get invited to conferences to speak about safety, so I'm really delighted to talk about sustainability, because I genuinely believe it's some of the most exciting stuff that we're doing within our business. And importantly, it's my department's opportunity to really do some amazing guest engagement, which of course is a little bit more difficult in certain areas. So when we were invited to speak, Harold, within his pre-read, spoke about the region specifically and some of the environmental challenges that the region gives us. And I think it's quite important we just revisit them actually. I'm going to spend one slide talking about the challenge that we have within the region, and probably the remaining 9 slides talking about what we're doing about it, because I believe we are in a region that shows great leadership on addressing issues and indeed is very forward thinking. The slides you're looking at are a little bit off actually from the ones I'm looking at here, but nonetheless, I split the challenges in 2. One is simply geographical. We're in an extremely warm part of the world. That gives us some challenges around the summer and what my colleagues refer to as the mild summer. And of course that gives us some challenges around availability of natural water. But I also think, as we all know, that Dubai has been one of the most rapidly growing economies and cities in the world. We know about this phenomenal growth within the last 25 years, and I think that rapid development has obviously led to some environmental challenges as well. So the use and reliance of petrol vehicle engines is an issue. The fact that we have so much need for climate control and air conditioning means that our energy usage is significant. The third icon there is supposed to talk about and supposed to display the requirement for the country to be a net importer of produce, because of course at the moment Dubai can't be and UAE can't be self-sufficient on all of their goods within the region. The consequence of that is the CO2 carbon footprint, I guess, in terms of hotels is pretty significant compared with some of the cities in the world. And my last icon is about the development side. We have still many more developments that are ongoing within the region, and I think it's really important, of course, we recognise that we need to manage that environmentally as well. So in a nutshell, I guess I wanted to touch on the regional issues, if you like, but not apologise for them, because Dubai is now the 4th most visited city in the world. There's a tourism business here which is the envy of most governments globally. So if I touch on what I think the region is doing to address the issue, firstly, the government continues to show proven leadership around policy, innovation and technology. There are many very credible and very well monitored policy and strategy plans that are currently being deployed at the moment. The 2021 plan has a pillar around the place and a smart and sustainable city. only last week, the government launched their new food safety and security strategy, which really looks to address that issue that I mentioned about net importing of products, and actually lays out a 50-year plan on how they intend to, over the decades, become virtually self-sufficient on the food supply within the region. I'm delighted today to be joined by our colleagues at Expo 2020 as well, because sustainability is clearly a very keen part to that, and of course the legacy within Dubai as well. And from a personal perspective, Jumeirah is part of the Dubai Holdings Group, and this year we've taken on the UN Sustainable Development Goals as some of our key areas to focus on, and I do want to touch on that on the next slide actually. And it wouldn't be ATM if I wasn't able to mention Dubai Tourism. This year they launched the Dubai Sustainable Tourism Standard, which is a very clever requirement for the government in that it adds the requirement for an organisation to be sustainable within the classification process. In other words, the need to have a sustainable management plan and action on waste, energy and so on is as important to our operators as having a swimming pool and a 24-hour concierge if we are to get our 5-star rating. And I think that's a really skilled attempt by DTCM to engage my organisation at the highest level. I mentioned Sustainable Development Goals. I've been in my role for 20 years now actually, and I singularly think this is one of the most well put together plans when it refers to CSR and focus areas for organisations and governments. It's extremely well researched, and from a sustainability perspective, we've picked many of these projects or many of these themes to focus on. I did a little bit of research before I came today, and sustainable tourism is explicitly mentioned in 3 of these sustainable development goals. Number 8, which is decent work and economic growth, and number 12, responsible consumption and production, both have a same theme around engaging the local culture and local business in sustainability, and also the role of tourism to that effect. And clearly, the final theme that's explicitly mentioned around sustainable tourism is, of course, theme number 14, life below water, which for an organisation that has so many hotels next to the sea and relies on amazing quality bathing water, then clearly there's a huge interaction, and clearly tourism plays a key part. So this is something that we're strategically looking at being more targeted on this year, and hopefully next year, Harold, when you invite me again, if indeed you do, I'll be able to talk more about the SDGs and our progress on it. In my last 2 minutes, because I'm very aware of time, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what Jumeirah is doing at fairly high level on our sustainability projects. We present them, by the way, in a case study document. So this is available from Jumeirah and is just being updated on our website actually this week as it happens. What we try and do within one document is crystallise the work that we do within certain areas in this field. We try and be quite action orientated, so we tend to spend less time talking about strategy and more time spending money and effort on actually doing the right thing. This is a great example, going back to the theme of the presentation, about how we can engage tourists and our guests within sustainability and how that spreads the message globally. This is some photographs from the Dubai Turtle Rehabilitation Project, which has actually been running for over 15 years. We had 2 turtle releases within our business last week, where we released 150 turtles back to the wild. We had over 1,600 guests at that event for a 1-hour period last Wednesday and Thursday. For me, one of the highlights of my working life actually is being part of this, and it's a real success story. But equally, probably the best example of how we engage with our guests on sustainability. These aren't just projects; these are experiences, and we try and use social media as an example to allow these experiences to live beyond the visit and the stay within Dubai. We have a website and a Facebook page which we invite our guests to subscribe to, so that they can keep checking in on the project when they're out of town. And of course, try and get to that emotional connection, which is so important for us within hospitality. I should also say, for those of you that are Dubai-based, at the end of the presentation, please leave me your contact details. You'll be invited to the next Turtle release. For those of you that are out of town, I'm hosting a number of people tomorrow morning at the Burj Al Arab at 9:30. You're welcome to join if you give me your details. And we take you over to look at the Turtle Lagoon where we run the project from if you're interested. So there's an offer in the future for those of you that are based here, and anyone that can make it tomorrow morning's very welcome to join us. I've got 1 minute less, and I just want to run through some really nice recent projects that we've worked on. This is Jumeirah Sadia Island that opened in September. It's our greenest hotel open to date, partly because of three things really. One is the Abu Dhabi Istidama Green Building Standard requires us to have a very green property. The second reason is you can see that it's built on a very spectacular natural beach that has natural dunes, and we have an obligation to make sure that we have environmental protection built in. And the third is the Jumeirah standard, that when we open new hotels with that technology and that sort of theme, we're able to do things like plastic free. This is our first hotel where we don't have plastic bottles. We give guests upon check-in a reusable plastic bottle, and there's an element that they have to fill that themselves, which is an interesting 5-star luxury point, but nonetheless we believe we're doing it for the right reason. I mentioned it before around food security, some amazing food heroes, some local producers that are pioneering food supply within the region. We've got Diba Bay Oysters out in Fujairah. We've got fishfarm.ae that are also the first fish farms within the region, and we're starting to work much more closely with organic farms as well. So more to talk about on that in the future. I'm conscious of time, Harold. I've got many other case studies, but what I perhaps recommend that for you to view them, you have a look at our website at the start of next week, where we'll have the next set of documents uploaded. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Peter. Just to remind you all, if you are not resident in Dubai and you want to go and visit the Turtle Project, I did it last year. Don't miss the opportunity. Just have a word with Peter at the end. Peter, thanks for being so self-disciplined. It's very kind of you to stick to your time. If we could have Dina's presentation, and then we'll have time for questions. So Dina, do you want to come and give your presentation about the Expo 2020? When Dina gave this presentation last year, she took my breath away. I haven't seen this one, but I hope you're going to do the same again, Dina.
Thank you. Harold, that's very hard to do, to take your breath away. It is, I know. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Dina Mustafa. I head Sustainability Operations for Expo 2020, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about Expo 2020, but my main goal here is also to show you what the UAE is doing when it comes to sustainability, and I think my colleagues here on the panel have already demonstrated that there is a lot going on in the country, and we have some very interesting statistics that came out of the Expo that I think would be very interesting. So our goal is to use the Expo as a catalyst for change. We've said that before. And if we can use it as a catalyst for sustainable change and mindset, or the perception that the UAE is not just about big buildings and big cars and fancy cars, but there is a true meaning to the word sustainability in the UAE. And yes, it's a very harsh environment, but we humbly say that we are doing things the right way and that we need the world's help, and we want to use the Expo platform to bring people together and to make sure that we can work together, not just for the better future of the UAE, but for the better future of the global community as a whole. So humbly, we say the Expo is a place where people come together and where we can bring voices together for the sake of better good. So just to give you a little background about Expo, for those of you who don't know a lot about Expos, Expos have been around for a really long time. The first Expo was launched in 1851 in London, and that was in Crystal Palace, which is still there today. That's the legacy of the first Expo. In 1904, the St. Louis Expo launched, or the World Fair as the Americans call it, launched the first X-ray. The first picture phone was announced in 1964, the humanoid in 2005, and you can just imagine what the Expo, the first Expo in this region is going to bring. Some of the famous structures that have come out of World Expos is the Paris Eiffel Tower, which is actually an entrance to the Expo in 1889. And it stayed. Actually, they were going to take it down, but they ended up keeping it, and now it's an icon, and everybody wants to visit it. So, again, I see what's coming with the Expo, and I have a feeling there's going to be some iconic buildings that people will want to come visit again and again. So, Dubai Expo 2020. I'm assuming everybody knows it'll start in 2020. The main theme for Expo 2020 is connecting minds and creating the future. Our sub-themes are opportunity, mobility, and sustainability. Now, these were not chosen lightly. There was a committee and there was a thought process behind choosing these sub-themes, especially the sustainability sub-theme and how it integrates into the DNA of Expo. And I'll explain a little bit as we move along. We have over 192 countries committed to date, with 134 publicly announced, which means that almost the whole world is going to be here in 2020. Just some numbers for you so you can kind of get a perspective. We have 25 million visits happening during the time of the Expo. That's a projected number. 70% of them are international. And this is different from other expos because other expos focus more on the local more than on the national, but we're expecting 70% of our visitors to be international. The site itself is about 438 hectares, and it's absolutely massive. And I encourage you. We're going to be having lots of tours, not now, but in the spring, and the fall and the spring. And I encourage a lot of you to come visit and see the before and after. The 3 thematic districts. We are also located very strategically in Jebel Ali. We're about an hour away from Abu Dhabi Airport and less than an hour away from Dubai Airport, which creates a very strategic place for us to bring people together. And we're about 15 minutes away, by the way, from Mektoum Airport, which is now, I think, Fly Dubai and a few other airlines are flying in from there. Expo 2020 runs from the 20th of October 2020 till the 10th of April 2021. This is also the first World Expo that is staggered between 2 years. Most of the expos happen in the summertime, but we were given an exception by the BIE to host this expo during the winter months, clearly because of the weather and because of the importance of ensuring that we provide our visitors with a comfortable temperature to enjoy not just the expo, but the city and the country as a whole. This is the actual site. In the middle, you will see a dome. That's Al Wasl Plaza. It's a 360-degree immersive dome with LED screens on the outside, on the inside, bringing the visitors in and also ensuring that there's capabilities to see what's inside, outside. Around it is 3 petals, each one for one of our themes. The one that looks like a plate is actually the Sustainability Pavilion. The other 2 sides are the Opportunity and the Mobility Pavilion. The UAE Pavilion looks like a flying falcon, and it is absolutely stunning. It's also a LEED Platinum building, so it's rated very highly when it comes to sustainability. So is the Sustainability Pavilion. Both those buildings are LEED Platinum. We're intending, and we're doing all of this not for the 6 months. People say, okay, 6 months, what happens after? So everything that we do, including my work in sustainability, is focused on the legacy of what comes after. So we want to ensure that we leave a meaningful legacy, both from a physical aspect, an economic aspect, a social aspect, and a reputational aspect. And in fact, our economic impact report just came out. I encourage all of you to go see it. It's on our website, but it's all over the media, about how the Expo will actually increase the economic growth of the UAE even after it closes its doors. So our goal is not just to build buildings and create these wonderful spaces, but to also have an immersive experience that has an impact on the visitor, and that they can take a message back home, be it here, be it anywhere else in the world, and that message is a message of unity, a message of hope. Export sustainability, and I'll go through this really quickly because I really want to get to the statistics for you, Harold. Expo 2020 chose sustainability as a sub-theme. Why did we do that? And we integrated sustainability into our DNA, as I said, into the buildings, into everything else. Why did we do that? Because from inception and through its commitment to the world, Expo could see that the sustainable future of the world will become a global priority in 2020. And we see that happening on a day-to-day basis. There are pictures out there of endangered species. The ice caps are melting. And a lot of people I know are saying, well, I want to go to the North Pole or the South Pole. I want to go see the ice caps before they completely melt. I want to go see the corals, and I want to go diving before they're all bleached. We see that on a day-to-day basis. And we said, okay, well, if we integrate sustainability into our DNA and make it part of our messaging and our commitment, maybe we can bring the world together and have that unified voice to create that change. Now, I know a lot of people here, I know a lot of people in the world who are already working on this, but the goal is to create a unified platform to bring everyone together. So, the UAE committed to hosting one of the most sustainable World Expos in history. What does that mean? It was then interpreted into 4 key objectives: leaving a legacy of sustainable infrastructure, catalyzing sustainability efforts in Dubai and the UAE, increasing public awareness, which I think is to me, that's the most important one, and developing sustainable solutions that are scalable. So the sustainable solutions that we want to introduce and that we want to develop are not just for the Expo and not just for Dubai. It has to be scalable. Then we extrapolated our strategy from the SDGs and the Vision 2021 and the Dubai Plan 20, and we created a strategy that sits on 40 plus KPIs, a foundation of 40 plus KPIs. Why? Because if we don't measure this, then it doesn't make a difference. So our goal within my team is to integrate sustainability within the site and outside of the site, create an impact beyond the boundaries of the site, and inspire change, which is the awareness part. So we deciphered all of this into 40 plus KPIs under 7 pillars, which you see in front of you. Some of our KPIs are very hard to achieve, but I can guarantee you we're achieving a lot of them on a daily basis. 85% diversion target from landfill when it comes to waste. We've been achieving that since the day we broke ground, and we've been monitoring that. Our first sustainability report will come out very shortly, and we'll have all of this information on how we achieve this. 80% of our buildings will stay for legacy, which means 80% of our buildings are LEED certified gold and above. That's over 100 buildings on site that are LEED certified and above. LEED gold certified and above, 40% of our 40% below the DO baseline when it comes to water, and then our infrastructure is equals excellent certified. And I know these are technical terms, but in order for us to ensure that the foundation is sustainable, we have to meet these KPIs. Layered on top of that is the content, is the messaging, is the drive for global change. And we've created specific focus areas to make sure that this happens, such as climate change, such as the green economy, such as smart energy, the circular economy. And under each one of them, there is innovations and as well as content and messaging that brings people together. And we are working very, very closely, not just internally, but externally, with people such as yourselves, with people such as Harold, people such as my colleagues here, our partners, and creating that community to make these things happen on the ground. Why sustainability, and how does sustainability drive visitation? What do you mean? The UAE is sustainable, we're going to bring people over and attract them by being sustainable? Well, we did a few surveys. We have a very big analytics team, and they've been very amazing in giving us some surveys and some feedback. So what came out of this is sustainable and eco experiences are in demand with all tourists. This is a trend supported from key source markets in the UAE, millennials and high net worth, and I think Harold came to the same conclusion. So we asked some people, what's the likelihood of you coming to a sustainable place? And 73%, that's 1/3, said, I am likely to book an eco-tourism focused trip. That's big. That's people coming to Al Marmoum, people coming to the turtle release, people coming to see the beaches, and so on and so forth. Now, they're young and they're high-income demographic. We also noticed that the top countries that have the most interest, I'm talking about people having the most interest, were China, Malaysia, and Turkey. Expo 2020's International Visitor Profiling Study, which happened in 2018, and this is our internal study, 3 in 10 international visitors to the UAE stated that they look for a destination that has an environmentally friendly image. That's, again, environmentally friendly image. Now, our job is to change that perception. When they come to Dubai, however, when they come to the UAE, we ask, is that why you came? Because it has an environmentally friendly image. And they say, no. So only 1.6% said yes to the UAE having an environmentally friendly image. That means there's a gap. That's a perception gap. And the way we communicate for that perception gap is up to us. And that is also, I mean, for me, I don't call it a cap. I call it an opportunity. Local, US residents themselves, 63% of the UAE residents gave themselves a score 8, 9, or 10 when saying, I consciously do things to support the environment. 63%. So that's UAE residents, Emiratis, Westerners, residents that make 10,000 dirhams or more. That's a big demographic to capture. Now, to conclude all of this, because I'm running out of time, in conclusion, I believe, and I think we believe at Expo, that Expo 2020 presents an opportunity to attract the sustainable, eco-minded tourist. A summary of our findings, as I said, this trend is validated by UAE and Expo 2020 research, by global research. There is also a trend towards aligning the vision of the UAE residents to that sustainable perception as well. And Expo 2020 sustainability drive creates economic opportunities for us to attract that kind of visitor and grow the GDP, which I think is about 20%, the tourism GDP beyond that 20%. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Dina. It was good to see the figures behind the ambition. Last year, Dina gave us a glimpse of what's going to be in the Sustainability Pavilion, and it's definitely not to be missed. It will be an extraordinary experience. Dina, can I ask you, do you mind just saying something about what the experience will be in the Sustainability Pavilion?
So the Sustainability Pavilion itself is an immersive experience. My team, as I said, integrates sustainability into the DNA of Expo, and we have a specific team that focuses only on the Sustainability Pavilion. And the goal behind the Sustainability Pavilion is to make you think and to make you act. So it takes you through what nature is all about. And then as you move through that, it then takes you through what we as human beings have done to nature. And then as you come out of that experience, there's an action, there's a hope that is linked to innovation that then we can take and utilize to use our voices and use our innovations to create change. And it's literally a very immersive experience under the oceans or in the forests. And you can choose your path and you can see how we as humans have destroyed, but how there's hope in us coming together to make a positive change.
Please, the gentleman here.
Thank you, Harold. My name is Imtiaz Muqbil from Travel Impact Newswire in Bangkok. Could you give us some estimates on the amount of garbage and waste and sewage that is likely to be generated not just by the expo itself, but by the millions of visitors who will be coming to it? And what are you going to be doing with it?
That's a very good question. So when it comes to operations, I can tell you that the waste mix is going to be mostly organic, whereas the waste mix now is mostly construction waste, which is, by the way, easier to recycle and repurpose. So at this stage, what we're doing is coming up with a strategy and working with our waste management partner to make sure that we use technologies such as waste to energy, recycling and repurposing to mitigate that waste. In terms of sewage, we're working very closely with DEWA because we know that there's a spike. Keep in mind that the expo site itself will stay for legacy, and that will become District 2020. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to talk about that. So the infrastructure to clean that sewage has to be there, not just for the 6 months, but for after as well. In terms of numbers, I honestly can't remember the exact number. I can remember the mix. I hope that was helpful.
Please.
I just wanted to check about, like I had my son along with me visiting the Green Planet, and there were a whole lot of those, the tropical forests recreated, and I'm assuming that similar things might happen with a sustainability wing of Expo 2020 as well. But what are the possibilities of, Dubai? Because Dubai is no longer just a destination, it's almost like a concept, it's an idea which is going beyond just the physical location of Dubai. So what are the possibilities of Dubai integrating with multiple places globally to work on sustainability, like for instance restoring forests, creating more wildlife, restoring biodiversity, and getting into multiple such experiences getting enabled? So is that part of what Expo 2020 will enable, and how?
So the Sustainability Pavilion will stay on as a children's science museum. It's already we already know what its afterlife after Expo will be, and it will be 100% off the grid in its legacy. But beyond that, yes, there's a lot happening. As I said, it's all about bringing those people together for better conservation. The UAE has made huge commitments with the Paris Climate Agreement, with the SDGs, and those commitments you see are being implemented. But unfortunately, as I said, it's a perception gap. That's not being captured. So the possibility of Dubai continuing that trend, yes, there is a possibility. And we're hoping that to use the Sustainability Pavilion as a home for that kind of education and awareness in the future.
One of the things I'd like to say is that it's important to recognise that whilst the Expo will bring a lot more people to Dubai, we're already seeing at least two groups of hotels, and I think there are others, changing their practices, recognising that the Expo puts Dubai absolutely in the spotlight. And those changes will be permanent as well. So it isn't just about the Expo, it's about the impact of the Expo on the broader hospitality and tourism industry, not only in Dubai, but in the region. And I think that's already quite palpable. Is there one last question from the floor?
Hi, my name is Sonia. I'm from Marketing Magazine here. I have a question regarding the pavilions. I mean, you have a very good concept, but then how much will the pavilions as such have to follow the whole sustainability concept? How much will you, allow me the word, police them, that they are doing it? How is this organized? How deep to the ground you will go, if you want?
Good question, Sonny. From the ground up, as I said, from infrastructure, the pavilions are permanent structures. So they have to follow the LEED standard, LEED Gold and above. And as far as the international pavilions that are not permanent structures, we have a set of guidelines when it comes to sustainability that every country gets and every country follows. Then they present us with their designs and their concepts. It goes through an approval process. They also have to tell us their projected usage when it comes to water, waste, energy, and then we work with them to come up with solutions if we feel they fall short.
I think there's a very important new model coming out of this. It's already happening in Cape Town with the V&A waterfront, where the landlord effectively becomes the agency which is pushing for change. And I think we are seeing that in the Expo, and we are beginning, I think, to see that rolled out to Dubai in more general terms. I'm really sorry, but we've run out of time now, so I need to close the session. Could I thank the panelists for what's been a fascinating example of the way in which there is leadership in this region, a region which has, I think, in the past not perhaps talked about its successes as much as it might have done. But if you could thank the panel, I'd be grateful.